live from Palm Springs, California, here on RMR's Respect My Region Cannabis Women Podcast. We do this one panel style. We've taken a little break, but I'm back and I'm excited to have this discussion today with these leading ladies from the Oregon cannabis community. Before we start, just want to share a brief word from our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by RMR Legacy Smalls and RMR Pre-Rolls as well. The RMR team, they go around everywhere and they bring the best flower to you guys at an affordable price. Some strains include Lemon Cherry Runts, Super Lemon Cherry Gelato, Dedication OG, RS11, and it is available in California, Washington, and Arizona, and more coming soon. So check it out at your local dispensary or delivery service and ask for it as well. Today's show, we have Marianne Cursetjee, Holly Hillyer, and Anna Kaplan. So I'm just going to go around. They're going to introduce themselves and talk about their brands and their journey into cannabis, and we'll get to know them a little more. Marianne, we will start with you, just a brief intro, and then we'll move to Holly and Anna.
Sounds good. My name is Marianne, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Alibi Cannabis. We're a craft cultivation facility here in Oregon, and we've been in the cannabis industry for almost 8 years. I got into cannabis after a bout with cancer, so I used cannabis to help me through that journey and realized that really it is transformative in the way that you can live. And so just excited to be able to grow a quality product and share that with other people around the state. And this year is our big year for expansion. We're expanding out into a couple other states and have lots of big plans for 2024. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Excited to have you. Holly, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Holly. I run Utokia with my husband, Adam. We've been running it for 8 years now, going strong, and we're a small team, and we're craft indoor, so we only produce indoor, and our bread and butter is our flower and pre-rolls, and we own a little 4-acre farm in Canby.
Thank you, Holly. Anna?
Hi, my name is Anna Kaplan. I'm co-founder and CEO of SugarTop Buddery. We started as a small indoor cultivator 10 years ago. In 2014. It's our 9th year in the recreational space. My brother and I founded the company. He had been growing medically for patients earlier on in the industry, and I moved out here in 2014 after Measure 91 passed to build the business and start. Similar to Holly and Marianne, we are also focused on indoor flower cultivation and pre-roll. And it has just been an absolute joy to not only build a brand in this market, but alongside such incredible women and colleagues in the space, and to still be here after this many years, because it's definitely been a very interesting roller coaster of an industry. So really thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And just to briefly introduce myself again for you guys and for our audience, I work for an all-women company called Yummy Karma here in California. We make tinctures and topicals, and that's how I met Joey the day when he was also working for a tincture and topicals company. So we shared the same passion, enthusiasm, and wanted to be friends and learn from each other. And I'm just really excited to share the stories of other women on this platform. Really excited to have been given the opportunity. Prior to working for Yummy Karma, I worked for a medical delivery service. So I don't struggle, but I just wonder, all these regulations that we have in this legal industry, it's like, are they needed? We were able to thrive and grow without it back in the day. So I just love having these conversations with women such as yourselves in other states and learning the hurdles and the obstacles and just the excitement and passion that everyone shares. So thank you guys again. My first question for all of you will be, are you all born and raised in Oregon, and what was your family's stance on cannabis? So we'll start in the same order, Marianne, Holly, Anna.
Yeah, great question. I was born and raised in Seattle, actually in the country out east of Seattle, so kind of a country girl. And so been in the Northwest my whole entire life. My family, I was raised very conservative Christian, so went to Bible school from all the way through elementary, even through college. So very conservative. Definitely cannabis was not part of anybody's conversation anywhere, at least around me. There were friends who used it in high school, but I was focused on other things at the time. And so even when we built the farm, so we bought the property when I was going through chemo, we built the farm. I didn't tell my parents or my kids for a couple years because I was worried about being judged, even though I knew like 100% it's okay, it's legitimate, it's legal, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's still that, at least from my family circle, like that bit of judgment. And so I'm working really hard on changing that, just in how you have conversations with people and saying, it's okay if you do, it's okay if you don't, whatever works best for your body. And so eventually we told my parents and they were like, oh, then there were stories that came up from my mom's family is from Italy. And she was telling stories about how about 100 years ago, her family would go down in these valleys in their in Italy, and the kids were not allowed to go there because they would get headaches. And so I think that our family grew hemp for years and years, but it was never really talked about and never part of the family. So I'm excited to change that conversation for my kids.
That's beautiful. I love that. This must have been so exciting. Such an exciting story in Italy, hemp in Italy. That just sounds so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Holly, go ahead.
So yeah, I lived in Oregon since I was 3. Grew up in Vernonia, so a little tiny logging town. And my family stance, it's kind of interesting because my parents were both growers, but I didn't know it at the time when I was growing up. So they kept it secret. I think my brothers were aware, but I think they thought I had too big of a mouth and would tell everyone in town. So yeah, I didn't know that they were growing it all. So obviously they were positive about cannabis, and they believed in the medicinal benefits of it. They grew for their patients in medical. And I have a brother who has never partaked in cannabis, and I don't think he's necessarily against it, but he just hasn't. And then the rest of my family does partake and are either growers or or just have a love for the plant.
Thank you so much. Anna?
Awesome. Yeah, so I am born and raised in North Carolina. So the South is probably one of the slower parts of the country to get on board with cannabis, even though they do have a hemp program there. But born and raised in North Carolina, lived on the East Coast until 2014 when I moved out to Oregon. So I've been here for 10 years now. My brother had been here more like 30. My brother and I have a 21-year age gap, hence the time span. So I would say that I am very fortunate with the acceptance in my family. I did smoke weed before I drank, as far as, my acceptance of what I could do. Still, I was not, it wasn't condoned in my family as a teenager to smoke or drink, but, that was just, it was not frowned upon in our circles. I would say I came to find out later that my parents consumed, my older siblings consumed, and it was always a part of my life growing up creatively. And so I wouldn't say it was like a free for all, but it was definitely like on the same level as alcohol and youth as far as the tolerance was concerned. And then as my business started to grow out here, other parts of my family in the South slowly would ask questions about CBD. The interest would grow. So it was always sort of a slow walk into it. But now there's pretty much this universal acceptance and interest across most parts of my family about how the business is doing and when's cannabis going to be legal in the South.
Thank you all. Yes, I started when I was around 18. I also grew up in a Catholic family, and my mom worked for the police department. So it was very it was not a thing that happened until I was 18 and before, graduating high school, knowing I graduated, and then trying to get a job afterwards. And I was just like, let me try weed before I get a job. And then I tried weed, and then I was like, let me get a job that doesn't drug test. So I just got into the community like that, and I was, kind of a ganja girl and just was a stoner having fun, taking pictures. But then I noticed other women were like educated and wanted to be more mature, and beautifully grew into being more of an advocate. And so that they were role models for me, and that's why I love speaking and just being an advocate for the plant and doing what I do now. So thank you all for that. What brought each of you to your cannabis company? Specifically, what got you into starting your company? Marianne.
So it was through this bout with cancer that I was turned on to the plant, and I would never wish cancer on anybody. It was not something that you want to ever have, but it ended up being a good time and a good place if I was going to take a year out of having a job and working on my career. It was a good time for it. I had previously owned an e-commerce company, so I sold that and was in this waiting period between selling that business and finding something new. So when I was finally recovering, it was the perfect time. Like, you know what, I'm looking for something else to do, and the cannabis industry here in Oregon was just getting started. There were the medical people before, like Anna, and who had paved the way, and licenses were opening up. We're like, let's do it. So it was a huge gamble, a huge risk, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's great. And for me, it's about providing a quality product that helps people both recreationally and medically. There's this weird distinction in terms of licensing and the rules, but I do think that all use is medical use, because if it makes you feel better, if it makes you happier, it gives you, better relationships, like that's all medical. And so I have a strong passion for people being able to put quality stuff in your body, and that's what we try to always grow, and that's what we try to always provide. Just a little bit more on the medical side, my dad was also diagnosed with brain cancer, and he ended up passing about a year and a half ago. But it was a really interesting thing watching his journey, being a very he never drank. Like, there was no alcohol, no swearing, very by the book, straight up Christian. And but when he was going through his treatments, I'm like, Dad, can I get you a brownie? Can I get you a gummy? Just something that'll help you feel better. And so he and I had this little conversation my mom didn't know about, because she was very much against giving him cannabis. But, like, Dad, it'll make you feel better. So I, would slip him some cookies and some brownies, and he's like, oh, thank you. That makes me feel so much better. But I wish we didn't have to sneak. I wish it was just open and available. And I think that that's what the next generation is going to be able to do, is have open conversations. And I think that's how we move the industry forward.
And Marianne, real quick, I know you told me that cannabis during your chemo and everything, you were able to get off of all of these medications that you were on.
Yeah, Holly. It was, I had my chemotherapist my oncologist gave me 10 different medications to help deal with the symptoms of chemo. Because chemo's like, they give you, in my layman's terms, is anti-rejection drugs, because it's poison, and it's poisoning your body. So your body naturally wants to reject chemo, even though it's trying to kill cancer. So there's all of these drugs to basically force your body to accept chemo. And there's side effects to every single one. And, your body's just a mess. So I started using RSO, and I was able to get rid of all of those, and all of the side effects, symptoms went away. Cannabis is great, and I use it to this day, because I don't want to get cancer again, and I think it helps. It just helps for me. It helps better quality of life.
Thank you very much for sharing all of that. I'm sorry about your loss with your father, but it sounds very rewarding that you were able to help him in a healing way, and that is something that I feel with cannabis. It's a healing thing. Instead of pharmaceuticals that just seem more abrasive to our body. I don't even like taking aspirin or things like that, because it just feels like, I don't know, just my intuition has always been like, it's not as good for you. So thank you again.
Mm-hmm.
Holly, what brought you to Utokia?
Yes. So, it's been an interesting journey. So as I mentioned, my parents were both growers, but they kept it a secret. So it wasn't until I've been an avid horseback rider since my mom put me on a horse when I was 3. So I ride my horse over at my parents' house, me and my mom together. And one day I was cantering on my horse Tango, and he tripped, and I went over the top of him and broke both the bones in my wrist. And then those bones went up into my wrist and severed my carpal tunnel nerve. So with all of the nerve and bone damage, I had surgery and got a plate and many screws in, but my brain thought my hand was dead just from the severity of it. So they put me on Oxy, and I was in a cast twice, and it just wasn't healing. And so being on oxycodone for, I think it was, close to 6 months, my body got addicted to it. And the withdrawals were terrible. I started cutting my pills in half, trying to take less and less, and would get the shakes and every withdrawal symptom, trying to get off of it. And my doctor is only really, he could just prescribe more, is what he said when I had difficulty. And I didn't find that acceptable, and neither did my parents. So they stepped in and started providing some tinctures and edibles and things that they had in their kitchen. And that's when I found out that they grew, and they have been growing my entire life. And that really opened my eyes, though, because I was a straight A student. They really kept that from me. So it was just focused on grades. And I went through the DARE era and always just had this negative perception about cannabis. And so never tried it when I was growing up, and until really my injury. I think I tried it once or twice before that, just real briefly. But after this and dealing with it as a medicine, it really opened up my eyes. And at the same time, my husband and I were dying in our office jobs of just thinking, we'd worked our way up the corporate ladder quite a bit, and we're going into a cubicle every day. And then we just were projecting our future and going, is this it? Are we just going to go into a cubicle and work every day until we retire? And we wanted something different. So we were starting to think about starting our own business. And my parents suggested, hey, why not cannabis? Because I grew up on a farm. I was an avid gardener. So I started practicing in my spare bedroom in a little grow tent. I probably should have quit at that time because nothing turned out great, and I didn't know what I was doing. My dad was trying to, teach me the ropes a little bit. But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the plant and what it could do and growing it. And so I immediately started looking around for a property where I could actually have a bigger grow site. And we found this place that's right next door to my parents, and started an indoor cultivation and just kind of grew it steadily from there. So it's been a wonderful journey. I'm glad my eyes are open now. And it's a beautiful plant, and a lot of beautiful people in the industry that I've been able to meet, and especially other women in the industry. So it's kind of gone full circle, though. I never thought I would be a farmer, not once as my career path. So I thought I was a project manager before this. So it definitely wasn't something that I thought was in my cards.
Thank you so much. How are your wrists doing now?
Better now. Yeah, it's been about 10 years. And then, I started 2 years after that happened was when I actually, found this place and got the grow going. And, but it's funny, my mom had the same accident happen to her 2 years after I did. Broke both the bones coming off of her horse. So horse riding is got its risk, and she had the same surgery. And she's also been one that she doesn't like to take any drugs or aspirin, or it all makes her sick to her stomach. So she went straight to cannabis, and it helped her never even take a stronger pill during her entire surgery and her recovery.
That is crazy.
You've got me all worried. Holly and I were talking on Saturday night about her wrist surgery. So I have wrist surgery tomorrow. So I feel like I'm part of your family, Holly.
Yeah, it's part of the same wrist too, huh?
Yeah.
Anna, what brought you to SugarTop
Buddery, which you have no idea how many people think that we are a bakery. It's bud, like the same way that a brewery brews beer, we are a buttery that grows buds. So that's how I always like to sort of explain the word, if you will. So, like I said, I've been a consumer of cannabis probably since my teenage years. I actually have my career path prior to coming to Oregon was in fine arts. And so I have a master's in oil painting and ceramics, which is a wonderful track to go, but artists, musicians, movie stars, you name it, it's not always the easiest career path. So I found myself in restaurant and hospitality management alongside my arts journey. And so in 2014, I was graduating from grad school, and my brother had been growing medically out in Oregon for a little while. And every year or so, he'd ping me and be like, hey, you ready to come out to Oregon? You ready to come out and do this with me? And I said, let me finish grad school. But then when Measure 91 passed, it was probably the fastest decision I've ever made in my life. I just decided, okay, I'm going to quit my job. And I moved to Oregon within about 2 months of, deciding, drove across the country, and we probably picked the name SugarTop Buddery within the first 6 months of me living here. And it was history. We just started very small. Not obviously, when we were medical, we were really a small grow that was just doing, patient product and whatever excess we would put into some of the dispensaries. But that's when we started to play around with pre-roll. So for me, my arts background and my restaurant background has been how I've been able to contribute and build SugarTop. When I did first come here, I did learn how to grow in our medical gardens. It was my first job. I would say I love the plants with my whole heart. But I definitely prefer to be on the creative side of things. Our cultivators do an amazing job. But it is fun and really nice to be able to say that, yes, I do know how to grow cannabis. Yes, I can step into the gardens if we have an emergency. But yeah, my relationship with SugarTop and the plant has been sort of full circle. So I now say that SugarTop is my biggest art project. And so it's this ongoing creative space for me. So that's how I got here.
That is super dope. Okay, so this question is for all of you. I don't know if one of you wants to answer. How did you all meet? Was it at a party or?
Well, I met Marianne through, I think, I was trying to remember this morning, Marianne, and I think it was through the Aspergillus lawsuit.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so we fought in Oregon. You were talking about regulations and it's having a lot of restraints and holding people back and everything. So we dealt with the Aspergillus issue in Oregon and testing and successfully overturned that. And so that's how we were in a group with a bunch of other farmers and business owners discussing how we can pass the Aspergillus tests and what other people are doing. And so that's how I met Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Oregon is real. I don't know if all states are like this. I only operate here right now, but it's very community based. So even though technically, like, you might look at us and you say we're competitors, but I don't feel like it. I feel like we're all working together to build an industry. So Oregon is a really cool space in that it really is a community. It's not just lip service. Like it's fun to go hang out with people who are also cultivators and also in this space. And I don't remember how Anna and I met. It's been a long time. It has been an event, or there were these conferences years ago that I think that's where we met, but I don't remember for sure.
But I would say it's probably still in the same vein of something where we're trying to make change in the industry. I feel like we've all been involved in different organizations, whether it was the Oregon Cannabis Association or the Cannabis Industry Alliance of Oregon. That really does bring our community together. And we've all been able to make really strong change as a team. And just to do a nod to what Marianne said, Holly, this is our first time I think we've met.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I know, but I've been aware of you and your brand for years. And what's so beautiful about it is that when we go into shops and we're selling our products and we're talking with bud tenders and different businesses, I will always support and promote the other women-owned companies that I see on the shelf. There's all of this room for us, and we're collaborators, not competitors. And so it's so nice to see your face and meet you, because I see your products everywhere. So
thank you so much, ladies. I really just appreciate that camaraderie and sense of community. And when women band together, that's when the best things happen. So amazing. So what is all of your favorite method of cultivation? Some people say sun-grown, indoor, the best. So what method do you prefer and why?
I guess I'll start off. So for me, it's not about what I prefer. I mean, as a consumer, I'm fairly agnostic in terms of the method. I really just want quality. And that can be, I mean, you can grow fire under any scenario if you've got the right tools and the right team. And so for me as a consumer, it could be anything. For us as a farm, because we're in Northern Oregon, like Holly and Anna, we are very more limited in terms of our ability to grow outside. Like we just can't. You'd have to be further in Southern Oregon to grow outside. So we're limited by geography in terms of what makes sense for us as a business. And so we're indoor, and we grow in cocoa perlite, but for us, it's about the commercialization and how you can be efficient in growing craft cannabis. It's not necessarily about, I mean, there's lots of methods. So there's living soil, Anna does living soil, there's lots of methods, and I think they all have they're all good choices. It's not like there's a bad choice. It's just what's right for you at the time.
So I'm like I said, I'm an indoor grower, and might be a little bit controversial, but I do think that indoor is the best possible way to grow. And I'm not trying to say there isn't quality in every single grow method and technique. We grow indoor in soil. I've done it all. I've grown outdoor. I've grown in greenhouse. I've grown in cocoa, rock wool, soil. So I have what works for me, but I liken it to like if you were going to grow a tomato outside or in a greenhouse or indoor. And indoors, you can just climate control better. So you can control all your environmentals, including pests. And when we had those fires, I wasn't worried about it because the smoke wasn't coming in and ash wasn't falling down on my flower. And so just the level of control you can get with growing indoor, I do think that it can make for a better quality product. I do also think lighting plays a huge factor. So there's nothing that can replace the sun and all of the rays that it gives off, but we did switch over to LED, which is a little bit closer and does do more of that UV light. Yeah, I do respect like everyone's grow method. There is 1,000 ways to grow. I don't think there's one way, that is, exactly superior, but I do just personally think that you have more quality in indoor cannabis. And it is reflected in the price and what goes into it. My parents told me that the first time they saw indoor bud, they were blown away. They had never seen anything like it before. And that's amazing to me because that when I got into this, like that's really all that I knew. I had seen some greenhouse stuff and indoor, but they said, yeah, it was shocking. And they thought it was just a marvel and the most beautiful trichomy buds. And so they were amazed by it, and just that's what drove them to, grow indoors.
Awesome. Just mirroring what everyone said, I do believe that you can grow incredibly amazing cannabis in so many different ways. And so there are growers that grow under what would be called the Sun and Earth certification here, which is truly leaning into that sun-grown outdoor method. We do indoor. We actually we made a choice to transition to what are called no-till living soil beds. So this was a really big 2-year transition that was honestly very scary. It was a huge risk to try this out. We wanted to try to build something that was, at least for our facilities, because we're very small. So I only have 60 lights in my entire cultivation facility. So we were trying to figure out a way to be low cost and sustainable for us, because with scale comes the ability to have more flex. And being a small boutique scale, we're like, okay, how do we reduce our inputs? How do we reduce our general growing costs? And in turn with that also helped us with, for us, we really wanted to prioritize learning and beneficial soil and microbes and things just in that cultivation practice. So we've been growing no-till now for just about a year, and it's finally starting to really shine. But it's one of those things that takes a lot of time and dedication, and you have to have a very skilled grow team to do it. It is not easy, and it has a lot more variables. And so the choice for us was a really big leap of faith, and I'm very happy we did, but it was a big road to get here. And we grew beautiful cannabis before we transitioned too. So it really was just a very exciting step for us in trying to go on this path. We did also transition to LED lights, and that has been a wonderful move as far as just the spectrum for the plants, how they respond. So it's been really fun to both follow the technology, because indoor cultivation technology continues to, morph and change, and hopefully in ways that are sustainable, but also the plants thrive. So it's been really exciting to see the lighting tech change, the different cultivation technology change, and be along for the ride.
I'm glad you're sticking with the LEDs. There's a lot of people that went LEDs and then went back, and it's like you've got to dial things in and give it time. Because I've been a grower for 8 years now, and it's like, yeah, each time you change a variable, you got to give it some time to like settle in and fine tune everything and all your other equipment. So I'm glad you're stuck with it.
And when you change to an LED light, your environmentals also shift. So what people don't understand is if you built a grow room based on old, metal halide or, whatever the lighting technology was, all of a sudden we started having to heat our rooms instead of cool them. So many things changed. And so, but the LED has been one of the biggest boons we've ever done. So I'm thrilled. But yeah, patience is the name of the game with cultivation changes.
Well, if you think you're small, I always wonder who's smaller than us, because we've got 30 lights, 30 LEDs. And I'm like, geez, we're little tiny here.
It actually makes me so happy to hear and see the different, they're called micro tiers in Oregon as far as the license types goes. Other micro tier producers, we started with 20, and then we just switched to, we were adding on up to 60. So that was a recent expansion for us too. But no, it's great to see and hear. So that's awesome.
I like the small grows personally. Thank you guys. You guys all said it beautifully, and it's just a testament to you were mimicking what the earth is doing, and you're learning what the world is doing, and patience, and just keeping everything at the right temperatures and light levels. And it's a lot to learn, but that's amazing that you guys are the experts on it. But learning more about each of your teams, specifically, Marianne, what makes the team at Alibi special?
Our team is amazing. We have a fantastic team out at the farm. My head of cultivation, she has a master's in plant pathology, so she understands the plant both from a consumer and a love of the plant and kind of growing up with it, as well as the scientific side of it, where you can really dig and troubleshoot based on science, which is really rare in this industry. There's a lot of people who have learned how to grow from friends and family, and they might be fantastic growers, but without the knowledge, maybe don't have a complete suite of tools to help troubleshoot and help improve things. So we're really fortunate to have her, and then our team has been with us through thick and thin. It's a lot of ups and downs in this industry, and people, you just got to stick together. And so our team is really solid and have fantastic, even our trimmers are just part of the family. And we really are fortunate to surround ourselves with people who enjoy spending time with the plant and making the world a better place.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Holly.
So my team, I think a lot of people think we're much bigger than we are, and we have a lot of big plans coming up, but it's just my husband and I, and we have one sales rep who handles probably 60 or to 70% of the sales, mostly outside of the Portland region. So he's our road warrior, and travels up and down and across the state for us. And I've been the lead grower now for 8 years, and and I did learn from my dad, and it's funny because he said nobody's ever going to grow in cocoa, and nobody's ever going to grow under LEDs and stuff like that. He was kind of old school grower, and then now even he's come around to adopting a lot of the newer techniques and scrogging and just everything that he was like, no, that's never going to happen. And I've always been very much a science-based grower, and it's funny because I read all the time, there's still all these myths online that I thought would be cracked by now, like white ash and other things that I won't even get into, but it's like, I come always from a place of science, and anytime I'm introducing any new technique in my growing, it's usually coming from the big egg, and looking at what's actually worked in agriculture versus looking up Googling, well, how do you do this in cannabis? Because there is a lot of, and it's weird being a woman grower because there's not a lot of women growers. There's a lot of women in the industry, but not on the grow side. So I'm surrounded by a bunch of bros. when I go into a grow shop. Now they know me there, but they used to say, oh, run this by your grow guy and stuff. And they never thought that I was the grower. So now I've been able to establish kind of a reputation for myself, even going into dispensaries. You know, I would get grilled, but when my husband Adam would go with me, they would just assume he was the grower. They really didn't ask him much, but with me, that was like, well, what's your grow style? What medium are you using? What nutrients are you using? Kind of the full thing, until I felt like I proved myself over the years. And then now I don't get asked those same questions, and I get a lot of respect from the industry as a whole. And so I really want to motivate more women to get out and grow and be part of it. It's not an easy job though. I, like Anna, you prefer the other side. I mean, the grass is always greener, but the plants do not give you a single day off. So yeah, it's so that's why that motivates me to grow a larger team. So you know, Adam's been an awesome support. He does a ton for the business and a ton on the creative side. And then, yeah, I love Noah, and we hire trimmers when we need them. We only have the one room, so we'll need trimmers for about 2 weeks. And so trying to get back the same crew, we've got a pretty good set amount of people. And I do think women make better trimmers overall in general. This is a very generalized statement, but just the level of detail work on, we hand trim everything off the branch. And so yeah, women have that attention to detail that I don't find in a lot of male trimmers. And of course, there's exceptions to that. But yeah, so yeah, it motivates me though. I want to build a bigger team and yeah, add to our team and to continue to grow and yeah, be an awesome company to work for. I spent so many years in the corporate world, and so building my own business, I just wanted it to be somewhere that would be fun and would really let each individual shine. And so, yeah, that's my goal.
Awesome. Go Holly. And you're motivating me, and I'm sure you're motivating a lot of other women. So that's amazing. Anna, what makes SugarTop Buddery special? The team.
The team. I'm so grateful for the people that have helped me build this company. We always jokingly called it the SugarTop family, but I'm proud to say that most of my management team has been with the company for 5+ years. A lot of my staff literally grew up from 21 until now, like 8, 9, 10 years with the company. Some of them have, you know, when you go from being 21 to 30 and going, some of them have moved on to the next chapter of their lives. Some of them are still here with me. But we've built this together. And so that's been the thing that I've been so grateful with, for like, whether it's my sales manager, whether it's our production staff, we've grown up together. We've grown up in the industry alongside each other. We have figured out and traversed the rules together. We've brought in also great new talent. So there is a balance of that, right? Of having sort of the people that built it from the beginning and then bringing in talent to help bring it to the next step. We are relatively small though. We have about, I think our team size is around 16 right now. At our highest staffing, we were almost at 50, which was a very scary place to be. And that was mostly for pre-roll production. New technology has come in since that has allowed us to, and also the industry has gone through quite the roller coaster over the last 4 years from the pandemic. So we've really scaled back, taken a look at like where we can put people in the places where they can really shine and where we can have automation help us along the way. And so that's been a beautiful balance for us in figuring out how we can really invest further in the people we have and try to find that perfect balance of, you know, people and, you know, help, you know, machine help and that sort of thing as well. So, but yeah, I'm just so proud. And honestly, I have to tip my hat to our cultivation team. Like I mentioned before, changing over your cultivation process from one method to a completely different one is something that takes true experts. And without our cultivation team, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So I'm just very grateful for how we've grown this together.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I always say if there's one thing the cannabis industry knows how to do, it's pivot. So, and then speaking of talent, going into our next question, and I want to go backwards. I want to start with Anna and then Holly and then Marianne. How has art or music played a role in your company?
Thank you. It's we have five 5 core tenets of SugarTop Buddery. It's music, art, love, community, integrity. And we started those when we chose the brand because my brother is a professional musician. I'm a trained artist. And when we built SugarTop, we really came at it with this idea of inspiration and creativity. The brand is built for recreational lifestyle of cannabis, of course. And Marianne, I tip my hat. I do believe that all cannabis is medicine, whether it is cultural medicine, spiritual medicine, physical medicine, it is medicine. But we wanted sort of the consumer facing brand to feel like the way that looking at art makes you feel, to feel like the way that sound and good music and live music makes you feel. And so trying to bring that into both the visual aesthetics of the products we do, but also the community and events that we cultivate. So we actually have also, alongside the cannabis operation, built a gallery music venue in Eugene. So we do have something called the Hybrid Gallery, which is a space where we try to also funnel our love into this space. We did build it with the goal of it being a consumption lounge. Oregon has not changed the rules to make that fully accessible as a concept, but we do still keep it, and we do have private events where we can bring the cannabis industry together and be able to enjoy and consume in a legal way. So yeah, arts and music are a huge foundation for what we do.
And I heard you guys play music for the plants as well.
We
right?
do. Serenaded Buds. Yeah, so we have a YouTube channel. Since we actually expanded and changed our cultivation method, it's been a minute since we've had a concert in the grow, but the first 7 years of our business, every harvest was serenaded with music. We do still have musicians come in and play in the garden. It's just not as documented, but we'll be getting back to that. But there's some really incredible shows that you can find on our YouTube channel, Serenaded Buds.
That's awesome. I totally believe that music affects everything. The sounds and vibrations affect animals, plants, us. So I really respect that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Holly, how has art played a role in Utokia?
Well, as you noticed right before the interview, I've got a big display. So art is very significant in our business. We do these collectible trading cards in all of our pre-roll packs. We call them adventure packs. And they come with one of the random, here's one that's a little closer. So you can check them out all on our website, utokia.farm. And they're illustrations of all the different strains that we grow. And we wanted to infuse our love for like gaming. Me and my husband have been lifelong gamers and lovers of fantasy fiction and art. And so bringing that all together for these cards. You can see we got vanilla frosting Yeti. My husband had this made for my birthday. So yeah, it's about celebrating the individual artists. We've been able, had the privilege of being able to work with a lot of bud tender artists from across the state on illustrating a lot of our cards. And and we're just very like art forward and kind of similar to Anna. We wanted to, even though I got into this kind of from a medical perspective, and held a medical card, I really wanted to infuse, like, bring back the fun and just lightheartedness to the plant and using it, because there was always so much seriousness. And it's interesting because when coming from my office background, most of my friends in my office job did not smoke or, do cannabis at all in any way. So when I lived a secret double life, so the first few years getting set up here, I actually had my office job still as a project manager, but nobody knew about my whole like secret life growing on nights and weekends, and like every spare moment I would be growing on the side. And then once I quit my job and did this full time, and then started coming out to people of, I'm a grower and this is our business. And then I had a lot of friends say, oh, well, maybe I could try and, it might help me sleep. And they were very apprehensive about it. And it's like, I'm all about the normalization of it, that you don't have to have an excuse to partake. And, it could just be for recreational use and kind of to have fun or create and to spark creativity. There's so many ways to use it. And I feel like people always have to have that like little bit of an excuse of like, well, it helps me sleep or it helps with stress or something. And that's all beautiful and good, but there's nothing wrong with just using it for pleasure and it making you feel good. And, I quit drinking alcohol like 9 months ago, and, yeah, it's like cannabis is a much better alternative, in my opinion, to other recreational drugs and things. So, but yeah, back to the art, it really has kind of, played a significant role. And I look forward to what the future holds of just continuing to be creative with this beautiful plant.
I thought that was awesome because I used to be Pokemon card collector. Marianne, how has art played a role in your company? I see you have a beautiful background. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I love that all three of us have a focus on the experiential side of cannabis, because I think that's so important. It's not just a transactional, here, let me sell you some weed. It's here, how can we share in this experience together as human beings? And so our image, as you see, is this fairy. Her name is Mariposa, which means butterfly in Spanish. And this is our branding for our pre-roll packs and our all of our flower products. And the idea behind her and behind focusing so heavily on the art is that when you look at her and you look at this packaging and this really beautiful, sexy woman, like that's who we all are, whether you can see it on the outside or whether it's you on the inside. And so just let her out and enjoy in that and be part of that, because everyone has that beauty and that sexiness and that the joy of life, the joie de vivre, you have that inside of you. And so if, cannabis helps you find that and bring it out, then that's great. And that's what we're trying to do, is just focus on the beauty and find something beautiful and embrace it.
Oh, that's beautiful, Mary. I had no idea that was the story behind the lady. So yeah, I think with ours, it's like more, I think a lot of people get nostalgia. And I love that about, the cards, and you mentioned Pokemon, and it's like people just have this nostalgia of looking at it and going, oh, that brings you back to the simpler times when you were a kid, or so it's beautiful what everyone's done.
I think you three should collab on a Oregon women's art project and make some sort of card NFT with music. I don't know. You guys figure it out. I don't know. But moving on, just for the sake of time, we only have a little bit left. I'm going to skip over getting to a little bit of the nitty gritty. What compliance regulations have been or are currently a challenge for you guys in Oregon?
Where do you want to start?
Whoever wants to start.
Go ahead, Anna.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, I would say, just another nod to the work that y'all did with the aspergillus, because that was probably the biggest thing that affected us in 2023, at least as cultivators, was being able to have our flower on the market. Right now, compliance is a really interesting piece because, as you know, there isn't social consumption in Oregon. So the compliance of being able to have consumers interact with your product is still a very uphill battle as far as having safe places to consume. Public consumption is not legal in Oregon the way it is in other states like New York. So we do have that challenge ahead of us as far as just the way that we can interact with our consumers, share our product, and be able to have safe spaces for anyone to consume cannabis in Oregon. Other regulations or lack of regulations, and I know Marianne can speak to this too, because we've done work on this, is just in the B2B industry, payments is probably one of the biggest struggles that as cultivators we face, is in actually getting paid by the retailers for our product, paid timely, paid at all. And so for me, that's probably the biggest hurdle and struggle that I see on a day-to-day, is just simply best business practices in cannabis and being able to have a space where we can do what we do well and stay in business, not because we're not doing our jobs, but because we're not getting paid by our colleagues. And so that's the biggest hurdle that I face.
I think another hurdle with compliance is the regulations around different license types. So a couple things there is, we're a micro tier in Clackamas County. So as a micro tier, the OLCC allows a processor endorsement or exemption. So you can do some things like bubble hash, like non-combustible, but we can't participate in that because Clackamas County says no processing in our zoning. And so even though the processing is using water and ice and or pressing it, doing rosin. And so we can't do any of that. And so the barriers to entry of like a small business, being able to afford, having a license type for wholesale, just to be able to like do that, being able to bring in other people's product, because with our pre-roll packs, we'd love to expand it more quickly by being able to source other people's great quality flower and put it into ours. But in order to do that, we can't get it transferred directly to our farm. And so we'd have to either work with a wholesaler or have our own wholesale license. And so it's all these different license types that I think are very restrictive on the ability to like, grow as a business.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of things we could talk about. From a high level, I think there's really two problems. Number one is the federal status, being a Schedule I. So that creates a ton of restrictions on what you can and can't do. Like, and I was talking about collections. Well, we don't have access to most normal collection methods because of the Schedule I status. And so that creates the Schedule I status creates a whole waterfall effect of so many things that you would think we would be able to do, but we can't. So that's one big driver. And then the other driver, in my opinion, is that because Oregon was one of the first states to legalize, along with California, Washington, Colorado, we legalized at a time when we were operating under the Cole Memorandum, which created this carve out of federal space where the feds basically said that we'll leave our hands off you as long as you're following the state rules. But there was still a risk that the federal government could come down and start enforcing drug rules. So when our cannabis program was developed, it was developed in a way to create a wall to protect us from federal intervention. Well, that was 8-9 years ago, and the federal rules and stances have totally changed, but we're still operating under that environment. So if we were to create rules today, they would be very different because the federal government is not going to come interfere with a state licensed business. It hasn't happened that you can't shut that barn door. So a lot of the rules that we have to follow make absolutely zero sense under the current environment. And yet here we are stuck trying to do things in a very inefficient way that makes absolutely zero sense, does not provide any additional safety for anybody. It doesn't add anything to the industry. And yet here we are stuck trying to spend money and invest in compliance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ladies. Just wanted to take a pulse check, and yep, sounds like we're all going through the same issues. Yep, I knew it. But thank you guys for articulating that beautifully, and we still have a lot of work to do, as it sounds. What advice do you have for women wanting to be leaders in this cannabis space? We'll start Marianne, Holly, Anna.
Leaders. I think the important thing is to find something you're passionate about and be true to it. So it's hard as a business owner because there's so many, it's a very difficult business to be an entrepreneur in. The fact that we have all survived so long is unusual. There are so many of our colleagues who have moved on to other jobs, other businesses, because it's so hard and so tough. So the three of us, you look around the room and you're like, oh, good, we've made it this far. But in terms of leadership, you've just got to have a vision and have a dream and go for it, and be willing to stick through the trials and the tribulation. So
I would say try to look where you can add value. So my advice to women, or really anyone in industry wanting to move up into a leadership position, is really look for those places you can add value, look for opportunities to solve problems, because you're not going to be if you're really lucky, you'll be handed these opportunities, but you really have to carve your own pathway. And I think if, huge areas of opportunity are in cannabis is like marketing and advertising and sales. I think that's what every company in cannabis struggles with. So if you can make those opportunities and really find solutions to those problems, then I see a huge opportunity for women to move up into those leadership positions. I also, as I mentioned before, I want to encourage other women to not be scared or timid. Gardening is, in general, I feel like is a very, it has men and women in it, but is more woman focused. And then you look at big ag, because of the amount of like labor involved. Big Ag is predominantly male. And so, yeah, just to encourage any women, and I'm always available for like mentorship. And, if anyone, I love to nerd out about plants, and I did a video about bugs on our TikTok, and I had so many people asking questions about predator bugs that I was releasing. And so I get really excited about those kind of things. So if anyone wants to, I think growing is an excellent opportunity to put yourself into a leadership position right away. And you can see my journey. And it's unfortunate, a lot of states, you're not able to do that. I was really fortunate with Oregon and the low barriers to entry to be able to say, hey, I want to learn how to grow. I've got a green thumb. That's where I can insert myself. And it's really working hard. Like if you want to, I think take a couple steps up in the beginning, is anything you're doing now is just save every penny. We don't have outside investors. We bootstrap this ourselves. So it's, work hard at what you're doing and save everything you have and put it into those things that you're really passionate about. And I think that can get you a lot further than trying to raise money and get a lot of investors. If you can at all try to at least make the few steps on your own, then you'll have a quicker path to leadership.
Yeah, I guess well said. Just to jump on that, as far as leadership and the opportunity for growth in an industry, the biggest thing that I feel that women have less access to is network, right? We've developed into this general business industry that is under this patriarchal system, right? Men have this built-in network, whether it was from the industries that they came from before, that success is mostly, I would say, hustle and who you know. And so the who you know part is the part that we have, and why we're, I think, sitting on this call. Marianne, put me in touch with you to be here today. It's about having your network of people who support you, and no one does that better than women for each other. And so to be a woman in leadership in cannabis, to me, is to build a network of women who you will lift up alongside you, because that is how we get to the top of any conversation, the top of, like, whether it's thought leadership and also solving problems. Holly, like you said, so much of what I was able to accomplish through all these years was the determination to not take no for an answer. So whether that was talking with the OLCC for compliance about being able to do a product we wanted to put to market, or with, your work you did with Aspergillus saying, no, this is not going to work. Like, we have to work together, especially as small businesses, because we don't have the capital to just push through. We have to do it through hustle and through community. And so for me, that's the biggest thing that has helped me to stay in this, is knowing that I'm not alone, that I have incredible people next to me. And also just knowing, again, patience and determination, not being willing to, if you want to do this, you can, but you also have to accept the fact that it's going to be really hard. And that might not be a lifestyle that everybody wants to go down. And there are other industries and other things that are better lifestyle. But if this is what you want and you have the passion and believe, then it's doable. It's hard, but it's doable.
I just commend each and every one of you women, and I'm so glad that we were brought together to have this discussion today. I want to keep asking questions, but just due to time, we'll go around and ask what you guys are looking forward to in yourself and in your company, and how can we follow along? Where can we find you? Marianne, please go ahead.
Yeah, 2024 for us is a year of expansion. So we have been just in Oregon for now, and we've got our goal for this year is to be in 2 different states by the end of the year. And I think that if everything goes well, we should have that done by June. So I'm really excited about that, because the opportunities are endless and really just up to your dreams and your imagination. So you can follow along with us on Instagram at Alibi Cannabis. I'm on LinkedIn, pretty easy to find, and looking forward to chatting with other people over time. Thanks so much for the time, Shelbie.
So I'm really excited about this next year. We are about 2 weeks away from launching our new website. We've been Utokia.farm. We're launching a brand new website, Utokia.com. And we're launching some new fantastic products along with that. So our adventure packs, to be able to get them to the broader world outside of Oregon, we're launching our hemp packs. So same experience with the card and with the same, packaging and everything, but hemp joints. And then we're launching a line of gummies as well. And then our catnip joints, which sound crazy, but bear with me. So yeah, it's catnip in a joint for your cats. And so it's, our Utokia line. And I always thought it would just be a hilarious product to have. So more fun than anything. And so you can follow us. You can sign up for go live notification on our website on utokia.com. That's UTOKIA. And then we have an Instagram and a TikTok. Most everything is Utokia Farms. I'm just really excited about being able to get Utokia out to kind of the broader world.
That's awesome. I will definitely be getting some Utokia
Yes.
joints for my cats. So SugarTop, this is also a year for us to really finish some projects that we started. So also hoping to expand to the East Coast market by the end of the year. New York is where we're looking first. So please keep an eye out if you're in the New York area for our products, mostly our pre-roll line launching first. We also are going to be moving forward with our solventless process line. So we've done some infused bubble hash pre-rolls in the past, but we're going to be launching rosin and other solventless products as well. And then we also, if you're in Oregon and would like to purchase direct from the farm, we are going to be launching direct to consumer we have a delivery retail license. So we'll have some unique boxes that you can get direct from SugarTop. You have to either pick up in Eugene, essentially, but it's very exciting to take that step and be able to offer some of our more limited products that we can't sell around the state, but have customers who are really excited about them be able to have access to them. So yeah, a lot of new things ahead, and hopefully, we all know that when we're launching new things take time and timelines shift, but all hopefully in 2024 for sure.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud to know you. I'm proud of each and every one of you and the work and, the journey that you guys have all gone through and the fun you're having and the passion that you exude in yourself and in your companies. I can't wait to visit Oregon one day, and I can't wait to meet all of you guys one day and learn more. So everybody, to learn more, tap in with Marianne, Holly, and Anna. We got Alibi Cannabis, Utokia Farms, SugarTop Buddery. So check them out, learn more about them, and stay tuned. Tap in with respectmyregion.com for all things cannabis, culture, and passion. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Shelbie.
Thank you, Shelbie.
Thank you.